Hello. We are live. How's everybody doing? Oh, I think it's a mistake. It said live tomorrow. Well, that's how the week has been going, I guess. Hello. Yeah, it's a mistake. Let me call you guys up over here on the compy screen to make life a little easier. How is everybody's week? Hello. I'm just switching screens over here. Oh, did I lose my light? There we go. All right. The light is on, and the internet is slow. Wow. How can my internet be slow? I do not know. Week is good. You had a farewell party? When are you moving exactly? Like next week? When are you moving? Or was it a farewell party because you're going out of town? Happy Friday. Ah, there you guys are. Okay, can turn it off over here. None of that. Okay, well, I think we are ready to begin. Looks like I got that going. Got that going. Got Juniper is here, which is great. I love it when Juniper is here. Okay. I'm ready to start if you are. Oh, one last thing. Hold on a second. Wow. Oh, okay. Kindle, the end of August is the official move out date. But half of August you're in Portland. Yeah. Aw, so it's an official goodbye. I had an official goodbye today too. I guess there's a few of them. This is also an official goodbye, this episode. It's been good, hot but good. It's been hot. You can probably hear a few fans going right now, I'm guessing. Okay. You guys can hear me. You can see me. We have the ring light is on. The dog is here. Okay. Yeah. Hi, happy Friday, Gabrielle. Hello. Sina, hello. Okay. Well, hello. It's the hardcore crew is here. What's up? You're jealous? I'm not sure that you would be jealous considering that it's like, what is it, 36, more like 34, I guess, which Portland isn't really used to that. And it's happening in Washington State too. And Washington State is definitely not used to that. It never gets hot like this. What is that? I'm getting some interesting, mysterious dings. Okay. Well, Today is the last in the series, bedtime belly dance bedtime stories. So let's do an official hello. Hi, welcome to Belly Dance Bedtime Stories with your host Rachel Bryce. I am Rachel Bryce, here to tell you stories and to chat with you and to answer general questions. And we've got quite a backlog of questions also in stories that I reviewed a little bit earlier in the week, and I could definitely go over with you. We've probably got, I remember there were like 5 or 6 that I wanted to swing back to. And I put a story in Instagram yesterday asking if you wanted another series, and it sounds like you do. And I got some requests that made me think that perhaps there were some additional features that you would like. Let me call that up real quick before we get started. Okay, so should I do another season? I got some yeses. Well, I mean, of course, nobody's gonna not say. No one's gonna say no. People that feel no probably won't say anything, except for trolls, of course. As long as you like doing them, that was very sweet. Let's see. Yeah, don't always watch the same day, which is totally fine. It's not expected, of course. You don't even need to watch them in order. People, I love belly dance. I would love another season, but only if you're ready and it's what you want. That chokes me up a little bit. Let's see. There was a request in here. Stories that I saw yesterday. Aw. More thoughts about where the dance style is going. Recent adventures. That could be interesting. I'd love to share some of those with you. Guest spots, podcast style, Indigo members, BDSS members, legendary dancers. I think that's a great and fascinating suggestion, which makes me, makes me want to get to make a little sound booth or something at the studio and have people come there. That would be really fun. I don't know how many episodes that would be, considering there's only been like 7 to 10 members of the Indigo total over all the years, but that's a good 7 to 10 episodes. It was so fun having Barbara on. I would love to have some of my favorite dancers on. It could be great. So if you have ideas or requests for future types of content that we could provide, by we I mean Datura Online teachers, or me, this was a super personal one that was just really, I was hoping people would show up, but if people didn't show up, I wanted to do it anyway because I felt like I needed to know how I felt about an American, I don't even know what to call what it is that we do when we fall in love with a dance form that is, or an art form that is so steeped in the culture of a totally different place, especially with a place that our culture has a really problematic and complicated relationship with. So yeah, it's I might not get just because it's shreddy in here. So yeah, it was a personal journey, and I felt like going through it up to the Indigo made sense. I was thinking about doing a How Datura happened, but I feel like by the time I met Sol Crawford, who was my partner at the time, and we created all of these ideas. Well, he had a lot of the ideas, and we created these monsters together, including the idea of training teachers and the studio, and none of that was really, none of it was planned. That would be a whole different type of season, I think. Not so much cultural, although there are cultural elements, of course, to creating a training program and codification, and that's a whole other ball of wax. But I just wanted to really kind of square the first layer of what it was that I had done and am still doing to see how I feel about the dance. Let's see. It's been fun for me too on Fridays. It feels I feel vulnerable, and that's good. Um, I've Christina says, I've loved the series. Hearing your stories helped me dig into my own journey and relationship with the dance in ways I didn't think about before. That, Christina, I would say if there had to be a secondary goal that was very close to the first goal, it would also be that. Because, oh, sorry about, it looks like my internet's a little bit chunky. Is that true? Let me know if I'm gonna quit Chrome here. Hold on. I'm gonna have to get on my phone to see your comments, because it was getting it was stuttery. Yeah, and today, if you sense a little bit of quiet, today feels like a massive shift in some ways. I had the counselor that I worked with, coach, I guess you could call her a coach, but she's so much more than that. She's really, I feel like she's my teacher in the true sense of the word. We're I had no idea all of the things that were gonna open up when I started working with her, and I had no idea really. I remember when I started working with her. Hold on. First things first. I need to make sure I'm connected with you all before I start going on. Okay. Okay, there we go. Ah, there we go. Ah. Yeah, speaking of ADD, which is going back to the thing, ooh, that would be fun to talk about. There's a lot to say about that. Um, okay, so it looks like it's smoothed out a bit since I got off the Chrome. Okay. Um, so let's see, where was I? My goodness. So many layers. So yes, I wanted to go through my story, and then I was so happy that Christina had said that it helped her to open up and think about this stuff, because when I started working with Ashley, who's the name of my counselor, my coach, she's not my coach, the name of a woman who has a coaching practice, and I am working with her. I am her client. I remember saying that I think I had a couple of blind spots. Yeah, and I don't know why that chokes me up. I had more than a couple blind spots, let's just put it that way. And I really don't understand why some of this makes me so emotional, but I don't have to understand it intellectually. I felt like I had some blind spots because I felt that people were saying things about Datura that I didn't understand, and I didn't, when it is the way that you've lived your whole life and the way that you've been trained by the system you live in, to see things, of course you don't know that let's just put it this way, rather than speaking in very general terms. What I didn't realize when I started doing this work was that there were people saying that cultural appropriation was a harmful practice, and of course I didn't at all understand that there can be cultural exchange, and it's not that you can never the first thing that I said, and that many other people, when they hear it for the first time, say is, but, other people use this from us, and, people in other cultures use this from other cultures, and they add to it. But what I didn't realize at the time was the power dynamic with the United States. And I have been schooled, I have begun the process of breaking down the fact that I don't live in a vacuum. I live in the United States. And the United States has been kind of a bully, not only to its own people, which has been a new revelation for me, but, to the rest of the world in enormous ways. And, today, my session, I'm still feeling really, because the session with her that it really floored me was talking about something that I'm working through right now, in regards to the language that we use to describe the dance and the steps. And and that phenomenon that happens when there's a big meltdown online, because in one of my other worlds it's happening too. And she said, why that happens, right? And I was like, well, because people want to be right, and they want to, be the ones in the know, and they want to be the ones with answers. And so and what I'm talking about specifically is people that formerly had been engaged in an activity and have since stopped, and then they see people engaging in said activity and they attack, right? Sort of like an ex-smoker kind of thing. Ex-smokers are the worst with lecturing you. So she said, she's always pointing me back to compassion, which is one of the reasons I love her so much, but she's also honest with me in a compassionate way. She said, why that happens, right? And I was like, yeah, they want to be on the right side of history, or they want to be liked. They're afraid of having, belonging removed or being cast out. And in order to make sure they're not cast out, they, strike first. And she said, it's more than that. And she said it's to avoid, and I was like, to avoid a feeling of discomfort that comes up when you acknowledge that the behavior that you engaged in, practices you engaged in, may have been harmful. Basically, we'll do anything to avoid discomfort. And she was like, well, yeah, that's what our whole culture is based on, avoiding discomfort. And I was like, I don't know why it scrambled my brain so hard, but I'm still a little scrambled. I was just like, of course, like something, has a stain on it. You put a product on it and wash it. Something feels uncomfortable, you get something for it. There's a bad smell in the house, take care of it like this. You can solve all of these great solutions for modern problems. There's no, we do not tolerate discomfort. And she said, I don't know why this makes me emotional. She said, your true answers are really in your discomfort. And the idea that how we feel as individuals, not what we think or what we perceive as right and wrong, or what we've been told or what we've adopted as doctrine or any of that, that's not where we really check into what we feel in our hearts and our guts. And nobody can tell you what that is. And if there's a lot of pushing away and a lot of anxiety and anger and distractions and running and, there's an indication there might be discomfort there. And in the discomfort is what we really feel, perhaps. I don't know. We were just talking about this today and it kind of stunned me. So yeah, it's funny that on the last day, um, that Kindle had a goodbye. This must be a closing time. That this is our goodbye for now. It's also my last day that isn't an eight elements day, because on Monday it all pivots and I move into eight elements mode, and I feel like in some ways it's my personal end of quarantine because I'm gonna like suit up and show up after eight elements. You know, people are coming to the studio after eight elements. I'm going on tour, and it's insane out there. It's insane. There's COVID. There's monkeypox. There's I just got my booster yesterday, but it's sort of like, yeah, it's insane, and maybe it's never gonna go back to the way it was, and I'll wear two masks then and wash my hands every 10 seconds and never hook up with anyone ever again, which was already my plan anyway. That was a lot of words. So welcome. Let's see. Has glitchy moments? Yeah. Oh, good. The glitches stopped. Yeah, it was Chrome. Dang Chrome. Hijinks. Dorothy, I love the word hijinks. Your true answers are in your discomfort. Yeah, Ashley drops little gold bombs all the time. It's lean into the hard stuff, and it's also, there are certain places in my role as a teacher, really, and as a business owner, where I never ever expected anyone to be interested in my opinion, and I just happened to be in the Bay Area when this dance form was going the direction it was going. But I certainly was never like, I wanted to make a living as a dancer, but I never thought I'd end up owning a business or especially being a teacher. I never thought I'd have a training program. And the fact that what I say does resonate with people and that it matters to some people is really been quite a thing to contend with. What's interesting is that I needed to accept that, and now I need to let it go because, in talking with Ashley about this, not that I'm shucking responsibility, but there are so many layers of things that happen all at once as I'm learning more about, there's no way that we'll ever know everything. You can just start with one thing at a time and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And what does feel solid and does feel like it's something I can wrap my mind around, where cultural appropriation may not feel that way because it's so enormous and it's such a deep topic. But what I can wrap my mind around is being willing to listen and find out more. And it just sounds so nebulous when I say it, and so bleh. And to not, become like the word police is not about that. It's not about what anyone else is doing. It's not about, moving the dance in any particular direction or separating myself from it. There was such a simplicity when I started with BDSS because I knew where I had come from, and I knew who I felt very I felt very solid in what I knew, and I did not know what was coming. And when I started traveling with BDSS, people would say, oh, what you're doing isn't belly dance, and you've heard all this before. But I remember just not having any issue with that at all. It's just like, I thought it was belly dance. It definitely connected with belly dance. It didn't necessarily look so much like the belly dance I had been taught. But what's funny, you guys, is that I didn't know that at the time. Isn't that nuts? I mean, you look at Fifi Abdu stuff, who I never stopped watching Fifi. I never stopped watching Suhaila, but I was doing this sort of, Susie and the banshees, cosplay huntress fusion thing, and I was just like, no, it's belly dance. I didn't know what people meant, and that's hilarious to me now, because it's obvious how different it is. But I was totally fine with that because I was so passionate. I'm not sure. I do know what's changed. What's changed is that the generations of people that I had met from other cultures, generally speaking, were first generation, and then their kids grew up here, and instead of being like, oh my gosh, how did you learn this dance? You dance like my mother or my sister, or thinking that it's beautiful. Instead, they were like, you can't just beat the shit out of my little sister in second grade and then steal elements of our culture and take them out of context and call them yours. That's not cool. And I was like, what? I'm still, sort of previous generation, 80s, 90s belly dancer, confused by what it must be like. And kids are so cruel, and we never forget that stuff. So anyway, here I have gone for half an hour. Let's see. So, oh, well, thank you, Catholic lady, for praying for me. I'll take all the prayers I can get. Let me pop in on this cute ADHD question. I think I have come to love my ADHD, even though it is really frustrating at times. But I'm going to pop in for this ADHD question, then I'm going to go back to some Indigo questions. Asking as someone about your age who was diagnosed with ADHD 18 months ago. Ooh, when were you diagnosed? What do you find are the pros and cons of ADHD with dance and costuming and etc.? Okay, first of all, Zena, I want to make sure that you are hooked up with some of the magazines and the positive resources. I really I don't agree with everything that's on there, but Attitude Mag, Attitude Mag. Whoops. Oh, are you still there? Did I get... You're okay? Okay. I don't know what books have come out really recently, but I love the book Smart But Stuck, at least the first chapter of it. I love that one. But yeah, before I tell you about the I'll keep this brief because this is not what people necessarily, well, maybe it is, I don't know. I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2015, I think, and that means that I was 45. Maybe, somewhere around there, 43. Yeah, and the first thing that happened with that diagnosis was so much sadness, because I think it was sadness because it was sadness for all of the self-hate and sadness for all of the fruitless attempts to make myself neurotypical, or to at least appear neurotypical. I am just a complete nerd, and that might be one of the reasons that I was drawn to this dance form, and especially the style that I love to practice, one of slow, methodical confidence. Who doesn't want to feel like Morticia Addams? So I managed to find a job where we get to practice dressing and acting like Morticia Addams all the time, when in real life I'm nuts. So I'm more like a combination of Thing and Cousin It. So yeah, the first thing was I was sad for all of the ways that I tried to hide myself, and all the ways that I felt so much shame, and all the ways I tried to cope. And then I felt pissed at my teachers, and I still feel that sometimes, but they didn't know any more than I did. And then the next phase was like, okay, well, that's great. Now I know, and I'm going to get cured. I don't know that I thought of it in those terms, but I thought that's what my therapist was going to help me with, my ADD therapist. So I remember the day that I realized I was asking enough questions to finally get to the heart of it, and the heart of it is you can never recover from this condition, you can only manage this condition. And it hadn't occurred to me that that would ever be the case. I thought, oh, I got a diagnosis and now I get the cure, right? Like you counsel me and then I take some meds, and medication gives you the cure, right? And I remember going back to Datura and meeting Brittany there and crying, and I was like, I'm gonna stay this way, because I was so excited by the prospect that, now that I know that I have challenges with completing tasks and time management and remembering and, knowing how long things take and schedules and all of that stuff, that now that I know that, I can put things into place to fix it. Nope, because one of the major challenges with ADHD is that we only like doing novel practices, really, meaning that most of us will use an organizational system until it's boring. And it's really fun at first because we're like, we found this thing. Look, when you press this button, it shows you all this stuff. Like, I was going on about Notion at the last DaturaCon. I still love Notion, though. But, then we get this organizational system all together, and it's going to remind us of all the stuff that we have to do. And then it gets too full of stuff, and we take on too much responsibility again. And then that system is constantly giving us reminders that then we have to snooze, and then we're overwhelmed, and then we close it, and we never open it again. And then we find another system, and we go, oh my God, this system, I'm going to do this, but we still don't want to open that last one, to see all the shit that's in there to transfer it over. So then we transfer partial stuff, and then we've committed to stuff, and then it's all a mess again. It's like, constantly reorganizing the house. And, I joke that I spend at least 30% of my work life going, where is my, personal life? Yes, but I don't worry about that quite as much. I spend, 30% of my work life just finding stuff that I organized again. But where I love it now is this is going to sound so dumb. I like being a colorful character there. I said it. I like it. I like being a little weird. I feel like I have an interesting life. I like my colorful home, and I like the wildness, I guess, a little bit of wildness, and I get so excited about stuff. I love that I'm still excited about stuff. What else do I like about my ADD? Unknowingly, my ADD actually may be helping me with this. I have a chronic illness that makes me exhausted, but I'm on these ADHD stimulants that help with focus and energy, so they might be saving my butt in another way that I would have never experienced had I not had it. I also love that I make connections. So we don't really, the type of ADHD I have, I don't understand categories unless I basically draw them or put them in a physical structure that's pretty. And then I can say, okay, I can refer to it. I don't have a photographic memory, but I look back on the images. And because I don't really naturally categorize things, I've put things together before that hadn't gone together before, or had broken rules that I didn't even know were rules. I don't always recognize patterns. I don't recognize patterns for a long time. And I think that's part of the forgetfulness, is that most memories connect to previous memories. And since everything is like its own unique new thing, I don't often group things together. But then that means that since I don't recognize patterns, like I never noticed that the style that we now call fusion, when it was called tribal, before it was called American tribal style, that it wasn't a solo dance form. Somehow that was just, it didn't even really occur to me until I performed at Tribal Fest 2003 as a soloist, and people were like, and mentioned like, you did something different there. I was like, I did what I do. So a lot of the success that I have had has been accidental because I didn't know any better. But and also because I was a bit of an outsider, which ADHD can also do. Uh, because if you're rejected a lot and your teachers blow you off because they think you're a lost cause and other kids think you're weird and you're gawky and awkward and people kind of just sort of like you're super hyper, so you're pretty annoying. When that happens, you're like, well, I'll just learn how to do stuff by myself. I'll just find my own way. And I would get involved in groups, but I would normally get involved with groups that were, freaks, or we were brought together because of some impairment that we all had, or so we were all kind of weirdos. But as far as the mainstream world, like, people that I felt everybody else had it more together than me, and I've since learned that no, we all have some degree of challenge. But yeah, I think it's helped in that way. I hope that answers your question. And so I still have all kinds of feelings about it. But I would say more often than not, I like it. Because I actually, the other day, I realized, choked up about this too. It's going to sound so nerdy and it's personal, but the other day I was like, oh my God, I think I'm at that place in my life where I really honestly enjoy my company. I enjoy hanging out with myself. And I enjoy making stuff, and I don't experience a ton of loneliness, even when I'm by myself, and I think that came from being rejected as a kid, so thank God for that. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for making a space for fellow weirdos to grow into themselves where they don't have to pretend to be Morticia if they're more like it. Well, I feel like, although you're wonderful, thank you for saying that. I feel like that is one of my missions as a teacher, is for people to feel like they can. Dance is really for self-expression, especially this dance form. More than, I've always felt like many other dance forms were really relying on specific body types or appearances, and certain themes and very specific expressions of femininity, and that I never felt like. I mean, I wanted to be a ballerina. That was one of the first things I wanted to be. And then I wanted to be a psychotherapist as a little tiny kid, but that's a whole other story. And I just, I knew that there was no way that I would be able to be a ballerina. So then I wanted to be a tap dancer, but then I didn't end up in classes, and they were definitely tugs. They were things I was interested in, but belly dance was like, oh no, excuse me, this is the thing. Yeah, and I don't know how much that has to do with genes, but yeah, I feel like more than most, it's sort of like at least in Egypt, it's really about individual stars and how you bring your own unique feel to the dance and interpretation to it. So in that way, it feels super authentic for me because, I danced by emulating dancers that I saw for years, which is how it's traditionally taught, not in a codified way. So I just chose a dancer I wanted to look something like, and I just danced with her performance videos obsessively for hours. And then, over the years, my own voice started to become apparent. So in that way, it feels definitely authentic. Even if it doesn't look like traditional dance, it feels traditional in that sense. And the fact that it relies so much on musicality. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, when I was 6, I also wanted to be a ballerina. Oh, hi. A ballerina and learn tap. But parents didn't have money for lessons. I grew up and got hooked on belly dance. Yeah, I think that's part of it too. Just couldn't, just mom couldn't swing it. She was raising me after the age of 2. She was raising me by herself, and she was a painter that became an art teacher, and she was busting her butt to put food on the table. So yeah, I did not take classes. Yeah, pretty sure most of my students are neurodiverse too. Yeah, uh, I've met a lot of us in dance class and all kinds of different dances. Um, yeah, so maybe I'm thinking that people that do more established dance forms are more you know neurotypical, but maybe it is a bunch. Maybe we're all weirdos, and they just do a better job at covering it up. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna pop over to Instaclam and pull up some of these awesome questions from before. Let's see. So take a second here. In the meanwhile, does anyone have any questions about the Indigo? Let's see. Oh, yeah, these were from the last one. Definitely answered what was your favorite period with the Indigo and why with that good game post. And artistic freedoms you had in the Indigo that you didn't have during BDSS. Did you feel differently about yourself when you were dancing with the Indigo versus BDSS? Ooh. Did I feel differently about myself? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know that when I was doing BDSS shows, especially when we were in Monte Carlo, more than any other ones, I felt very removed and separate um, because I hated it there. I didn't want to be there. Uh, I just hated it so much. And I felt like that town represented everything that I wanted to stand against. And what I loved about it was, that I had a dressing room where I could leave my stuff and that we got to just perform every night. I loved that part. So, I would even do it again as a result of just wanting to go dance. But when it was the Indigo, I felt in my element. And we created that feeling. I always felt like um, when I was with my Bay Area friends, because basically, Miles Copeland allowed me to bring my Bay Area friends on the road. And so I felt like I had a crew with me and I felt very much a part of and a ton of belonging with them all the time. But when it was Serpent Rouge and Marty was really the one that was driving the creative vision for the show, um, I felt so proud of that show. I don't think I've ever felt so um, successful. I mean, it was a dream come true, really. It felt like I remember after the Great American Music Hall, well, before it, I took a picture of the Great American Music Hall had the Indigo Belly Dance, Le Serpent Rouge, and Great American is one of my favorite venues in the Bay Area. And um, I was like, okay, I can die now. Like, I've reached the pinnacle of everything that I ever wanted in dance. Ugh, I'm so cry-y today, you guys. um, yeah, and how fortunate. So I definitely felt with Belly Dance Superstars. I always felt like it wasn't my show. It was um, it was Miles and Jelena's show, and because there were things that Jelena wanted to do that Miles wouldn't allow her to do. So I don't know if she felt like it was her show. And she was extremely generous and was always like, you guys do your thing. She completely gave us room. So as much as I felt like I could express what I did in parts of that show, I felt like I was a part of something. But I never felt 100% a part of BDSS because I also felt uncomfortable with the name. And Miles was like an embarrassing uncle, even though I admired and respected and loved him and still do. I didn't always agree with, how he thought he would get us to the top. I didn't know that I wanted to get to the top. I didn't want mainstream America to know about us. So it was always conflict, internal conflict. Miles was working with large corporations and I was anti-corporate, and it was rough. It was rough. So I always felt like I was compromising a bit, even though I was so grateful to be there. And Miles said, "Oh, shut up, go manage yourself." In one of the documentaries, and we were like, okay. So he did the first Serpent Rouge, and that felt amazing. But we did the second and third ones, and that felt incredible. And yeah, absolutely, 100% felt completely different. Let's see. Oh my god. I think I answered that. Okay, I think I answered a lot of these ones. Let's see about these ones. Do I see a reunion happening? Probably not. I mean, I could see a reunion happening with the Indigo hanging out and answering questions and, telling stories together, which would be so fun. Because you guys need to hang out with Marty. Actually, Marty and Zoe together are definitely hilarious to watch. So, yeah, I could see us getting together and telling stories, but I think Marty and Sharon and I aren't dancing much. I'm dancing in class, but I'm not performing. I'll be performing this fall, but because I said I would. But I don't have the same drive to do it. I mean, but you never know. Things might change, but I don't really see it happening. Do I miss it? Yeah, I miss it. If I could do everything all at once, I would. If I could, invest in being on the road and touring and improving my tour game and also developing the 8 elements and making the studio awesome and having a personal dance practice and choreographing and developing my craft as a choreographer and understanding composition more. If I could do all of it, I would. But because I'm interested in so many aspects of dance, I'll choose what is basically, I don't know if this is gonna sound like a cop-out or if it's gonna make sense, but I'll do the thing that I'm the most excited about that is also successful. So what that means is not only stuff that I'm excited about, and certainly not only stuff that is successful because people are interested in it, but something that I love as much as it seems that other people love it. I'll go that direction, which is why I'm always like, what do you guys want? Do you want to do this? Do you want that? Do you want some of this stuff? Because when I hear about and see people are really interested in a particular aspect of dance, and I am really passionate about it, then that's what I'll do. That was the case with the Indigo. However, we didn't have a manager. I'm not 100% sure. I think the reason that we stopped doing it was because I moved to Portland. And I fell in love and deeply, madly, head over heels in love, and was just like, I want to put so much of my energy into this relationship. And I did that, and it's interesting because I pulled some energy away from dance, but when I watch, my favorite personal period is after 2010, after I stopped drinking, actually. I feel like everything got cleaner, and there were a few periods in there from like 2010 to 2013 that the costuming finally calmed the fuck down a little bit, and I felt like I had a direction. I wasn't just like, it wasn't a 1,000 layer cake of everything that I wanted to do all at once. Because I used to like individual objects and stick those all together because I couldn't bear to not wear one of them because I loved them all, whether or not they worked together. And I started kind of, I don't know, relaxing into it a little bit. Maybe my taste was getting refined. I don't know. And that was after I moved to Portland and was really focusing on Datura stuff, and I couldn't do Indigo stuff at the same time. So yeah, had to make a choice. Had to make a choice. Let's see. Which choreography took the longest to compose? Oh, I don't actually know which choreography took the longest to compose. I don't know. Oh, people are so cute. Let's see. How did choreographing go with you three? What was each one's strength? Let's see. Why did it stop? Oh, how did you book LSR tour? Let's see. Where are they now? Oh. So many reunion questions. Can I go back in time and be in it? What's the Indigo's choreography you like the most? Ooh. I don't know. I think Boy in the Boat. Um. That was Marty's choreography. I loved that when we were playing so much with different facings, and um, I don't know. I have a hard time watching our choreographies, to be honest, because I was so drunk for most of it and so scared so much of the time. And there were so many things that I now that I've taught composition for 10 years, it drives me insane. Like, so much we could have done with so much less. So I don't know if I could say that I had a favorite choreography, but I could definitely say that there were elements of what we were into that were favorites. I love that Marty loved finger cymbals, and that she loved the earthier stuff, and she loved to play with feet, and she loved to play with comedy, and yeah, and I loved Zoe's like zap boom bam, like showgirl flashy style, and it was I feel like we were such an interesting, when it was that Serpent Rouge period, such an interesting combination of energies. And I never, of course you don't go out to pick the straight man when you're thinking that you're going to end up doing comedy, and we certainly never planned to do comedy, but just that, Zoe and I are so nuts all the time, and Marty's like, it still cracks me up to think about it. So I can't really think of one dance that I love, because we also did so many dances in unison, from start to finish, where I'm like, oh, you guys, you could have, like really built that more slowly. And so, plus, like I said, I was drunk all the time. But I like, more than a particular dance, I like the play between the three of us. The story about the name of the group, there's not really much of a story. I mean, I was thinking about it the last couple of days, and because I was thinking about dance in terms of languages that we use, and that, I had a realization about, like, the fact that we use names of actual people to name our dance form, that I was like, why would I have done that? Why would I mean, I thought it was a giving credit, but now I look back on it and just, I'm not sure. Anyway, I digress. So I was super into the whole aesthetic of the Tuareg, particularly the women. But I did love men's veils, and I really loved when men would pound the indigo into the fabric that they would wear to veil themselves, because pounding it rather than making a dye and putting your fabric in it made it metallic. So if you've ever seen those images of Tuareg men with veils where they are, it doesn't even look like it doesn't look like it can't be a fake fabric. It's so sparkly and shiny. It looks like lame or something, but it's from the pounding of the plant into the fabric. Ugh. And so, you know, the idea of the word indigo really worked for me, but then just indigo felt kind of, I don't know, felt like it was hanging there by itself. Something about the indigo, it felt nice in the mouth. I liked the words, and it felt like it was something that wasn't quite finished, like the indigo. It was the indigo what? The indigo, well, we don't know. You know, it was just like, go get me the indigo. There's something about where the indigo, I don't know exactly. And it came up, I remember it was Janice and Ariella and Michelle Campbell and myself. I think we were at Ariella's house or Michelle's house, and we'd taken all these different names, so many names, and had thrown them in a hat. And it was just like Datura in the way that we could not find the name. We were just going on and on about a bunch of names. And I think it came through a internet search or something, and I saw the words the indigo by themselves and was like, that's it, that's perfect. It just felt like it just locked and loaded. Let me see if we have any questions. Yes. Yeah, the opening dance with the juicy hips, I love that one too. That's when I was talking about, like, oh, there was so much unison in there. Well, hi, Lotus Belly Dance, North Carolina. How hot is it there? Why doesn't Marty have videos on Datura? That's a good question. You should ask her that. I've only invited her 40 bazillion times. I think that she's just not, like, I don't know, maybe I should ask her again. I don't know that she's the, she always said that she would never, ever, ever do a DVD. But that was back in DVD days. And now she's teaching online. So I asked her before the pandemic, so maybe I'll ask her again. The only reason she's not on, and it's not because I haven't asked, it's because she gave me the classic Marty Love answer, which is, I was like, hey, you know, if you're interested, you can teach a couple classes on Datura online. We would love to have you. And she went, I don't know what that means. It means whatever Marty feels at the moment. I don't know. Let's see. Ooh. Yeah, exactly. Just maybe now that she's teaching online, maybe she would be fine with that. Ooh, Tammy, I'm gonna come back to your... Yes, I did just say it. Ha ha ha. Now I'm saying what you just said. Oh my goodness. Okay, Tammy Ann asked, I think I'm gonna come back to this question, Tammy Ann, because there's a couple more indigo questions. Juniper. What were your main steps in starting up Datura online and then codifying your style? You've mentioned you had to learn how to run a business. What did that look like for you? Yeah, let's see if I get through all the indigo questions. Otherwise, maybe we'll have a How Datura Happened series or something. Let's see. I'm just excited for this era. Aw, Carla likes this era. How did the indigo come to fruition, and how did you choose the first members and current? I think we did that one, Lo, but tell me if you have more questions about that. I don't remember. Did we do that one? I have a vague recollection. And another reunion question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Oh, Who made your website back in like 2007-ish, the one with the swirly designs? First of all, I love that you know that, and there's a spider here. Hold on. What are you doing, spy drone? Are you all done? Okay. It's like full coming down. Let's see. And back in 2007, I know the one that you're talking about. You're talking about the black and white one where I'm leaning forward and all the swirls come in. Pentaphobe made that website. That 2007-ish. It must have been like, yeah, 2000. I met Pentaphobe, otherwise known as Kaylee, in 2003 before the first Lollapalooza tour, and we immediately, like, almost instantly just became an item. And so yeah, and then he moved up to the Bay Area and lived up there. We lived together up there for a few years. So between 2003 2006, he made that website, and I loved it. The one with the little gong, you'd click on it. If you want to see it, you can go to archive.org and put in rachelbryce.com, probably about 2005, and you will see it. Another reunion question. Oh my gosh, maybe we should then. My whole thing about if you love it and they ask for it. Dance together again. The world needs it. Yeah. The world needs something. Okay, let's see. I think that's all the Indigo questions. Triple check. Yeah. And there's the good game one from last week. Okay, yeah, I think that could be it. Yeah. What was the week before that? Monte Carlo was 7. Well, Monte Carlo was 17 and we're at 21. Sheesh. Okay. All right, let me see if you have any questions over here. I did answer that one. Okay, thank you, though. So, yeah. It's 6 o'clock. And if you have any further questions, then I would be happy to answer them. I think it would be fun in the future. It feels the Indigo section feels very incomplete. I think that could be its own, 4 to 6 period series, because it starts at Amira and it ends. I can't remember where our very last show was, but on the West Coast somewhere. And a bunch of stuff happened in between. There's a lot of stories in there. But I think that I would love to hear the other members tell them as well. So, yeah. Let's see. Things are coming in. Okay. So then, a couple are... No! I know. Well, I'll just keep talking if you keep asking me questions for at least... I don't like to go more than 90 minutes, but let's see. The pink phone case. Oh my God. Oh, this one? You don't want to know what's funny about this? This is, I got this phone case because I always, have black clothes and a black purse and didn't want this to get lost in it. And then I got a purse that has the same color inside as this. Isn't that ridiculous? That's ridiculous. Okay, Tammy Ann, let's, we're going to transition. That was kind of a short Indigo one. I guess I had gone over a bunch of stuff. And there is always episode 9 to edit. I would love to at least take the visuals are terrifying, but that was the one where I was trying to film it in the library, which we're now going to call the cafe, in the studio, and the fridge was going in the background, and I was so frazzled. But I think some of the audio on that was fun. It'd be fun to just do images or video with that. So yeah, that was the Indigo part. So now we'll transition to your current questions. What were your main steps in starting DO and then codifying your style? You've mentioned you had to learn how to run a business. What did that look like for you? Okay, well, briefly, so, oh gosh, how do I make a long story short? I've never organized this into a timeline. None of it was planned. All of it was like, against my better judgment. So, as I said, I fell in love in 2008, I think. And Soul Crawford and I met in the Bay Area at Amnesia, and moved to Portland because it was becoming, you couldn't get anything. We wanted to move in together, and we were looking at what things cost in the Bay Area, and I remember we were looking for places, and we were like, well, I wonder what it would be like if we just put the amount that we want to spend in and see what's available in Portland. And the places that we were looking at were like converted garages in the Bay Area, and in Portland you could get like a 2-bedroom Craftsman with a yard and super cute, just trees everywhere for the same amount of money. So we thought, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to actually live in a house, because neither of us had ever done that in adulthood, our own house. So we moved up, and we were like, let's just, on a whim, on an absolute whim, we were like, let's just drive up to Portland. We had just gotten a little Volkswagen bus, and we named her Buttercup because she was yellow. And we got in the camper van, and we were like, let's just go up to Portland for a weekend and, look at a bunch of houses. And if we like any of them, let's apply. And if we get any of the applications, let's do it. And we weren't really necessarily attached to moving up here. We were just kind of like, let's have a weekend where we do this. And we saw the house this house was so cute, and it's a block away from the current Datura, which is funny too. Just absolutely adorable, little tiny Victorian, like a shrunken Victorian. It was so little and adorable, and the ground floor of it was practically the same size as the little studio apartment. I mean, it had a bigger kitchen, but it felt so much bigger because it was its own structure, and it had this huge yard with a pear tree in it. It was just so goddamn cute. And we thought, okay, let's just apply for this place, and if they offer it to us, we'll deal with it then. And they did. Okay, so that's how that happened. Didn't ever plan to move here. I loved San Francisco so much. But I always said that I would follow Soul Crawford if he wanted to move into an active volcano, I would do it. I was so in love. And so we moved up here, and I had decided that I didn't want to dance in my home anymore because I could easily put off dancing all day, because my dance space was basically all I had in San Francisco was a bed and a place to dance, and that's all I wanted. And so I was like, I'll move it out of the house so when I'm at home, I'm at home. And this is a funny story, actually. So I was renting space in this kind of communal art space, and the dance space didn't have a door that you could close. So people, would go through the area, and that was fine. And one day I haven't told this online before, as some of you may have heard it in person already though, but it always makes me laugh. This woman was like, oh, you're a belly dancer. Can I, do you mind if I watch you practice? And I was like, no, actually that would be good for me, because this is a really hard dance and I need to practice performing it. So I did it, and she came up to me and she said, wow, you're really good. Rachel Bryce got nothing on you. And I was like, I had this moment where I thought, do I tell her? Do I not tell her? Because I don't look like Morticia in my daily life. I'm not recognized or whatever. even by belly dancers. And I'm standing there, and she's looking at me like, wow, Rachel Bryce got nothing on you. And I'm thinking, do I tell her? Do I tell her? And then I was kind of half committed to telling her, so I said, I am Rachel Bryce, in kind of this weird, like, awkward, sort of stunted way. I am Rachel Bryce. And she looked at me, and her eyes got really huge, and then she actually fell on the floor laughing, which I thought was delightful. On one hand, I was like, okay, this is a hilarious situation to be in. And then on the I mean, she was nothing. She's totally polite. I have no issues with this lady. She was super cute. But then I thought, maybe I need to get my own space. Maybe I need to get a private space. And so, yeah, it was because of that awesome lady that I started looking, and I found a room in such a weird situation. These architects were renting out an office, and they wanted to rent it to me. The woman that owned the building thought it would be fun and to change it up, and I was like, are you sure? I really want to. It was going to be for practice, but also I was teaching private lessons at the time, and I said, finger symbols, like all that, you really okay with it? And she was like, yeah, totally. So I was about to sign the lease and take it over to her. And I think I did sign the lease, and I was about to take it over to her, and she canceled for that day and asked if I could do it the next day. And then Sol and I saw what became Datura, and he's like, this place just came up, we should go look at it. And he said, if you're gonna rent a space, you really should just have a storefront. You should have a storefront so that people know where you are, and then if you want to teach small classes, you could do that, or even just private lessons. My plan was just to rent a practice room. That was it. So we find the space. The space is it's so cheap. It's approximately the same price, or a little bit more, than a room in an architect's building. And it had that amazing, it was like everything that we needed for me to practice. So we got it, and then it became the space. Then, you have to decorate it, because even if you're just going to have private lessons there, you can't just have some hollowed out little hole in the wall. And so the mirrors were already in there. The basic structure was there. And Sol has such an incredible amount of energy, which I'm working with him again right now, and we're friends now. But I forgot how much energy that human being has in his body, and he's so motivated to get stuff done. Just every morning is like, bing, let's go. He's doing so much in the studio right now. It's fucking amazing and beautiful in there. So I'm excited. So he made that happen, and meanwhile, I'm not planning on expanding anything. I mean, all I had been doing, I had learned how to kind of run a business. Not really, though, because I found that workshops and touring was the best way to have successful classes, because ongoing classes takes a lot of marketing. And if you do traveling workshops, then local people do marketing to their people, and you can put something up on a website, but it's not, I'd be spending more time dancing than marketing, and that's what I wanted. That being said, I never learned how to run a business that way. And I would kind of try to hire people, but I have such a hard time telling people what to do, even when they want me to. I really needed somebody who could just look at me and be like, I know what you want, I'll just do it. And I wasn't hiring those types of people. And so they would come in, and I'd ask them to like half organize something, and it was a wreck, and I wasn't paying my taxes, and not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't getting my shit together to get it done. I don't know that I ever got a business. I think I may have gotten a tax ID number, but my particular form of ADHD is like morbidly terrified of forms and filling out forms. I don't know why. I do not know why, but I don't fill out forms. I will put it off for 6 years. Let's just say, I mean, it's hard to describe how intense it is for me. So the studio happened, and then I was thinking about retiring. I've been talking about that since I was 40, and Sol was like, well, you really should leave something, like do you think you could do a training program? And I was like, maybe. And he said, well, I didn't believe in certification. I didn't feel like you could certify someone to be an artist. How do you do that? I'm not certified in anything. Like, and he said, well, what do you think are the most important elements to being a strong performer? And I was like, well, maybe these things. No, these things. And we, took a whole day, and he basically structured the 8 elements, and there is no way I would have done it ever in a million bazillion years if he hadn't believed that I could. I mean, any of you that have been to the 8 elements have heard the story of him holding me by the shoulders and going, I believe in you, like yelling at me, like, you can do this. I know you can. I was like, no, I can't. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Because I'd never really been able to structure something and enough to be able to explain it to someone else. I was like, what are the fundamental isolations that we do? Like, where do you begin to practice? What is the difference between a beginning class and an intermediate class? What am I supposed to do when I practice? Like, how much is supposed to be flash and how much is supposed to be like solid? And how do you teach someone how to interpret music? And all these questions just started firing. And that's really when I started to learn so much, was when I had to teach and try to figure out what the hell I'd been doing all those years, because I'd just been doing. I'd never stopped to think about why I was doing it or what drove me. I was just in it. So yeah, that was fascinating. And then DO happened because he's like, we gotta make sure that you have some kind of residual income, because the plan actually, I've left this part out, the plan was actually to sort of have a retirement plan for a couple of years, and then we would retire to the country and, live off the land and become a couple of permaculture nerds and, live in earthen homes and live like hobbits, basically. And, it still sounds nice, I gotta say. But, so Dio was supposed to be residual income, and he was the one that came up with the idea of it being multiple teachers rather than just me. And because I had done DVDs with a couple of businesses, I knew the kind of business structure I wanted to set up, because even if I was paid well at the outset of a DVD, I always felt like if the DVD did well, wouldn't the person that did the work made for hire, shouldn't they benefit a little bit at least? So I always believed in royalties and profit sharing. So I wanted to create, if we were going to work with teachers that were also my friends, then I wanted to create a business where they benefited and where they also had residual income. So he set it up and we designed it together, but he was the one that made all the phone calls and did all the correspondence and all of that. And then when we decided to end both partnerships, the romantic and the business partnership, for many reasons, I think the largest one being that we are exactly alike in opposite ways. And being friends with him now and reestablishing a friendship through working together, which is probably the only way we know how to be friends with someone, because we're workaholics. I can see how I feel like in some ways we're like mirror images of each other, and that's fun for short periods of time. But yeah, no, we should have been friends or business partners the whole time, I think. But how do you know that? So when we decided to dissolve both, and he decided to move to New Zealand, he hired Colette and taught her how he had been doing the bookkeeping, because he'd been working with a tax accountant. So basically, I inherited the business structure from him. And I still have no idea, like, how to, quote, run a business, because I started taking classes in it right away and was like, none of this it doesn't make ethical sense to me. And basically, we're learning as we go. And I'm not running it. I'm running it with everyone that runs a different department. And yeah, and we're scaling it down because, I don't want to do all this stuff forever. I want to focus on a few aspects of it, but we shut down the studio for reasons that I can go into another day. And now we're using it just for intensives and, online stuff. And for Datura Online, I love live streaming so much. I love teaching that way, so I want to do a lot more of that. I love being at the studio and making stuff at the studio. I don't know how long traveling is going to be possible in the world. It's also, just with global warming, flying around all the time is not what I want to be doing. So yeah, that's how it happened. It was all kind of, Dio was more intentional, but all that happened after there was a Datura. And Datura was an accident. Moving here was kind of an accident. So they all were sort of, so much of my life was just like, I don't know. I just kept dancing and things happened. I don't know if I'd follow my guy into a volcano. I'd talk him out of it. Well, if I could have talked him out of it, maybe I would have, but you would have to follow him into a volcano. Otherwise, who would make you playlists of amazing music? Oh my goodness. Yay for online classes. Kindle said it's amazing to have that kind of support from someone believing in you so much and being that push to get you to do the thing. It really is. And Amy Sigil has told me that about Raven too. That so much of what she had done from the rodeo on was because Raven was like, of course you're going to do that. Of course you will. Like, that's what you want to do. You'll do it. And, yeah, it's amazing when someone believes that you can. And my current boyfriend, I may have told some of you this already, but I have boyfriends. I'm all boyfriends every once in a while that are no longer living. And Bruce and I have been together for a long time, and he's also said that maybe he wants to see other people. So I also am seeing other people, and my current boyfriend is Steve Jobs. So I don't know when that happened, but I get fascinated with people, and then I want to learn everything about why they did what they did. And there was a point to this, and it had to do with someone believing in you. When Wozniak was talking about when they started Apple, he was like, there are so many things and ideas that I had. And he's like, it never occurred to me that I could actually do these things. It was either Wozniak or somebody else, I can't remember, but they said basically Steve Jobs was so intense and so charismatic and so sure you can do that, and that you were like scared to disagree with him, and that he'd be like, no, we can do this in 3 days, we can absolutely do this. And when they said, it wasn't him, I think it was an ex-girlfriend of his, said, when Steve Jobs believed that something could be done and believed that you could do that thing, you would do that thing, because his belief was so powerful that it seemed like he would just live as if it was done. And it made me think about Soul and the way that Soul kind of, brought these brilliant ideas into the world, and we're like, oh, you can, and we will, because we're doing that now. Just amazing. It is really, it's an incredible, yeah, I'm very grateful for it. Incredible thing to have in your life. Oh, Sydney, it took me a minute to realize who Bruce is. Yes, Bruce Lee, Jun Fan Lee. You're over there with your head spinning? Well, good. I'm glad I could pass along the head spinningness to you, because this morning I told Ashley that she made my brain into scrambled eggs, because she said a couple of things that I was just like, sometimes someone will say something that feels so true and just completely destroys all of these long-held beliefs. God, and what I love about working with her is not only is it destroying long-held beliefs, like the clarity and the compassion and the unity that she wants to bring to the world. Like there's just, shame and punishment are not tools, and she's helping me to dismantle those things in myself. And oh my God, I just love it when someone just is like, let me just drop a bomb of love and clarity that melts all of these defenses that you have. So there's scrambled egg brains for you today on your Saturday morning. Oh, he's not going to go in the volcano. Okay, good. He can't do that. It's not allowed. Um, you don't know how I do it with all of those boyfriends? Well, it helps that they're all dead. Then they don't argue with me or each other. So, yeah, I don't have any living boyfriends. I just have these romantic relationships with the minds and the writings and the previous life choices of inspiring people. Let's see. Yes, Iona, don't go into volcanoes. Let me see. I feel like there was one more. There was that performance question that we could end on. Let's see. Any future series you need to skip episode 9. It can be like a live only party that is never posted. I love that. And I love you for saying that. Right? Like, that's such an ADHD response, by the way. Just be like, well, I messed that up. That's a new tradition. But hey, isn't necessity the mother of invention anyway? Like, it's so hard to go back and do stuff that doesn't have a due date. Like, I need to edit that. I need to do it. But it's not really, it doesn't have a due date. And all this other stuff does. Oh my gosh. Okay, performance question. Last question for this series. Would you enjoy or look forward to performing if you didn't have the Rachel Bryce pressure? If you snuck it in somewhere where nobody knew who you were? I don't think so, because I just don't. It just, back in the day when I was so driven to perform and I really couldn't tell you why, I was so driven to perform like what I wanted to do. And I mean, there were definitely times that I had to be dragged out of the house to go do stuff, but I think this is going to sound really, when I was in Orange County and San Francisco, it wasn't as cold as it is here. And I remember as soon as I moved here and I needed to get dressed to go perform, I was like, oh, it's so cold. Like, I can't just put a cover up on and go somewhere. Like, I have to, it's raining all the time. And going out in your full makeup with your hair when it's raining, I don't know, it's such a pain. And I have to say, I am getting warmed back up to putting makeup on. That's honestly, I really think it's that. I think it's the hair and makeup. And I don't really want to perform as myself. I think that I've finally come to terms with the fact that for me, belly dance is a sort of cosplay. And that's why I feel like I can't, connect it too much to actual people that live on the earth and have real cultures and real traditions. I don't know if I need to change the name or what, but I love the dress up part and the looking like, I love the creation of a character that doesn't look like they're from any one place. So yeah, I think, and I still have conflicted feelings about that because I'm not doing a traditional dance from an actual place anymore. And so what I am doing feels kind of like, can you do cosplay in this thing? Like, or can I move it out of that realm? That part is still a little confusing. So yeah, I'm not going to say no for sure, but it's not, I mean, the pressure of being my former, 20 years ago self, it's there. Like, yeah, I feel a pressure that I need to be able to perform at that level, which is not possible now because I'm not living that life. And that's all I did was practice and sew and practice and dance and teach, and I had no other things going on. So yeah, I just don't feel the drive to perform. I feel like, I realized this week, and I feel like I said this in a live, but maybe I didn't. I watched the Julia Child documentary that came out recently and was realizing that for me, dance is actually, I think, more like making food than it is painting a picture. And I always thought of it as an art form where you're creating this thing that you're presenting to people. But when Julia Child said that she'd get up, she'd go to class, she'd come home, and then she would make some kind of amazing lunch for her husband who would come home for lunch. She wouldn't just, she was making lunch for someone, and for her it was enjoying that with other people. And my faith in humanity has been restored as a result of working with a coach. It was broken for a minute, and then I didn't want to give anyone anything ever again. In 2020 or 2021, my heart was broken by what humankind does to each other. And she's Ashley is such a beautiful example of someone who continues to hold hope, and whose heart is broken often by what humans do, but continues to focus on what's possible. And so I feel like working with her has restored that, and I want to share again. But I just got to get willing to put on hair and makeup, I guess. And I need to reinvent it. I'd need to reinvent it. I mean, God, I can't believe I have to get on stage without knowing who I'm presenting. I mean, I've thought maybe I just need to go do some theatrical representation of, like, letting it all go. Maybe I'll go out there and take my makeup off. I don't know. And I love working with people, and I love teaching. There's more discomfort to go into with that, to discover what the true guiding principles are going to be. So, well, I think that's it, my friends. So, I've really enjoyed spending this time with you guys. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey of self-discovery, and I really hope that it encourages you to do your own journey of self-discovery. And yeah, let me know what other stuff, if you want this to keep happening, let me know. Maybe I'll put another question up in a couple of days about, you've already put some awesome stuff in there in the question story about what kinds of content you'd like to see. But yeah, I definitely get inspired by your ideas, and I'll still continue to try to come up with stuff. But yeah, thank you so much. And it sounds like there will be a season 2 because there's some interest in it. And until next time, go into can I leave you with one book recommendation? I just started reading. Here it is. Here's the final book recommendation that we'll close on. See No Stranger. I'm loving it. I'm only in the 2nd chapter right now, but it kind of encapsulates a lot of what we've been talking about in this episode, about connecting with others. And thanks for lending an ear and a question. And I will see you on the other side of something.